Academy of Agricultural Sciences to lead a research group in soybean science after completing his postdoctoral research at Nanjing Agricultural University in 1997. Dr. Han has also been serving as the chief soybean scientist of China Agricultural Research System since 2007 and the head of Soybean Advisory Committee of the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs since 2012. Professor Han's research focuses on improving soybean variety and farming system. Up to the end of 2021, he has published over 200 peer-reviewed papers and has released over 30 soybean varieties. In 2020 and 2021, he was awarded with the first-class prize of Science and Technology Advancement by the Beijing Municipal Government and the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs. In the following presentation, Professor Han will share the stories of soybean and soy food in the Chinese history, introducing the current status of soybean production and trade in Asia, and summarize the research progress in soybean in China. In the last part, he will discuss the strategy of using soybean and soy food to support the sustainable development of modern agriculture and well-off life of billions of people. So now let's pass the stage to Professor Han. So Temple, please share your file.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for invitation and introduction of Professor Han. The presentation of the title of my presentation is Soybean Industry in China and Asia, Today and Tomorrow. But my story have to start from yesterday and even the day before yesterday. Why? Because the soybean is a very old crop. The historian and ethnologist say that ancient Chinese people domesticated this crop about 5,000 years ago. Of course, there are other countries also contribute to their improvement of soybean in the past 1,000 years. From this picture, you can find great differences between wild soybean and cultivated. The seeds of wild soybean look very ugly, just a drop of mice. But their current status were very beautiful, a golden color and round shape. Their cultivated soybean also erect and stand up, make a farmer to mechanized plant and harvest them. Our product of soybean, tofu, are either great invention by the ancient Chinese people. In 1970s, tomb near the suburban of Zhengzhou, Henan province were found. There was a picture show their procedures, just like protocol for people to soak seeds and process the tofu. But recently, some people died the truth because they did not find the process of the meaning. But it's true that their red record was found in the Song Dynasty. It means that their tofu was invented at least 1,100 years ago. Tofu is very important because generally speaking, the nutrition of plant products are not so nutritional to compare with their meat, but tofu is an exception. Tofu can extract the protein from their soybean seeds. It's easy to digest. The flavor was much improved, much better. just Dr. Sun Yanzi says that tofu, okay, have the nutrition as meat, but it does not contain the toxic materials, just like in the meat. You know that soybean is a very important crop in the world now because it's disseminated to other continents and other countries. It means that soybean transmitted to Korea Peninsula about 2,300 years ago, to Japan 2,000 years ago, to the North America about 300 years ago, and to also to Europe about 300 years ago. In the past 5 decades, soybean industry grew very fast in the world, especially in the South America and North America. You know that in 1953, United States passed China as the leading soybean produced country. In the 1970s, Argentina and Brazil developed their soybean industry. In 1999, the production of soybean in South America surpassed North America. Now, recently in the harvest year of 2020 to 2021, the total production of soybean in the world was 368 million tons, a huge amount. And Asia occupied only about 8.6% of the global total soybean production. You can see that soybean, just like girl from ancient, traditional Chinese family, she was not so important in her mother's family, but when he married to America, it became the queen. In South America, the plant area of soybean is 120% more than the second crop corn. This is the #1 crop in South America. In the total in the South America, North America, the soybean is 40% more than maize. Now the soybean is their major source of their revenue of Latin American countries, including Brazil and Argentina. Compared with their North America, South America, their soybean plant area grew very slowly in Asia in the past 5 decades. And also, the output developed steadily but very slowly. The total soybean production in the harvest year of 2020 to 2021 was 31 million tons. A big change of soybean distribution in Asia is the rise of in India. In 1970, India produced only 0.2% of soybean in Asia, but now India contributes nearly 40%. The soybean growing industry developed very fast in India. Now India, the plant area of soybean in India is the biggest among the Asian countries. Last year, they planted 12 million hectares of soybean, but China, their number was less than 9 million hectares. Also, the soybean can be found in Indonesia, Japan, Korea, but their plant area and their contribution to the plant area is very small, very little. Soybean yield in Asia was much lower than the world average, and they're major producer in America, in North America and South America. In the year, harvest year, exactly, the number should be in the 2020. The average yield of soybean in China was 1.98, less than 2 tons per hectare. The world average is 2.8, and that in the United States was 3.4 tons per hectare, and the Brazil, the soybean yield in Brazil, it was even higher, 3.556. In the past 3 decades, soybean consumption in Asia increased very fast. It's purely after 1995 when China opened door and Chinese economy developed fast. So there in 2021, their demand to soybeans in Asia was 143 million tons, but the production was less than 30 million tons. In China, the soybean demand and consumption grew very fast in the past 20 years. Last year, China consumed over 110 million tons, a huge amount. Their demand to soybean meal is a major force of China to the demand to their soybeans, because of the development of animal husbandry. Last year, China consumed about 70 million tons of soybean meal for feed. And also, soybean is a major source of edible oil. Last year, soybean contribute about 44% of edible oil, followed by rapeseed oil, palm oil. In the world, the palm oil is the #1 oil, but in China, soybean oil is their #1 oil for edible use. Their soybean used for crushing was mainly from other countries, imported. And China people also consumes a lot of soybean for food. Last year, China people consumed about 14 million tons soybean for tofu and for soy milk, and sleek food. Tofu and other fresh food, the major use for food use of soybean. The domestic soybean were mainly used for food, and the imported soybean were used for crushing. Because we do not have enough land to grow soybean, and their demand grew very fast, China have to import soybean from other countries. So in 2021, the soybean import of China was as high as 96 million tons, accounting for nearly 6% of the global total soybean export. India it also import soybeans for oil, but they export soy meal. They also produce a huge amount of soybeans. In Japan, because of the limited land, Japan imported both soybean oil and soy meal. you have to know that Japanese people consume the most soybeans as food per capita than any other people in the world. This is one reason why Japanese people have the longest life in the world. Soybean oil is the third largest oil consumed in Japan after rapeseed and palm oil. Of course, the rapeseed, soybean, and palm oil also imported from other countries. And the demand for soybean meal and soybean oil has been greatly increased in Japan. And South Korea also imports soybeans, soybean meal, and soybean oil. Every year, South Korea imported about 1 million tons of soybean for edible use. And also Indonesia imported a lot of soybean because they have heavy population. They have big industry for oil because they have a lot of production of palm oil, but they import soybeans for meal and for protein. Vietnam is another big importer of soybean because of their fast-growing economy, and they have their similar diet structure with the Chinese people. Along with their development of economy, they higher their income of people. They eat more meat, so they have a bigger industry of animal husbandry, so they consume more and more soybean meal. Young people should know that Vietnam is becoming more and more important in Asia and even in the world. I estimated that 50 years later, Vietnam will be as important as Japan. Okay, I hope that Vietnam will be good friends of Chinese people. We have learned much. We have learned something from Vietnam. So from this picture, you can find the floor of trade of soybean in the world. On the left, the provider of soybean, they're Brazil, okay, the biggest provider, followed by United States, Paraguay, Argentina. Argentina is very big soybean producer, but they do not export so much raw material, soybean seed, but they process soybeans and export soybean meal and soybean oil. On the left, you can find the big buyer of soybean. China buy about 6% of soybean in the international market, and Japan buy about 2%. Another big buyer is European Union. Okay, they buy over 10 million tons of soybeans and soybean products. Where the soybean came from, that was soybean from to China. You know that 6% of exported soybean to China was from Brazil, and then second one, the United States. Their export of United States to China was resumed last year. Okay, 2 years ago, because of their geopolitical conflict, their percent of soybean from United States was much lower. But last year, their percent resumed. Okay, so Brazil is very important. Okay, to their soybean supply in the international market. Now let's go to the third part of soybean research in Asia and China. It's a neat story. Our Asian people did not only domesticated this crop, but also the pioneer of soybean research with the modern technologies. In 1881, their first soybean research program was established in Japan, in Akita. In 1893, they started to breed soybeans. And Korea, at that time, it's the colony of Japan. I guess they also have live selection. A great event in soybean study in China was to publish a book called Soybeans in 1910. Mr. Li Yuyin published a book, Soybean China, and 2 years later, he published the French translation, La Soja, okay, in Paris. Li Yuyin was a very important people in the history of China. He joined the revolution of Dr. Sun Yat-sen. And he was the museum of Forbidden City. Forbidden City is the place for emperor to live before the revolution. After the revolution, it became a museum. Dr. Yuyin Li was the first head of the museum. Okay. Another great thing we have to remember that he established the tofu factory in Paris before World War I, and he got some money. And there he supported people. He gave money to Dr. Sun Yat-sen, okay, for his revolution. He also supported young people to work and study in France. Among the young people, you know, two big names are Zhou Enlai, the late premier of China, and Deng Xiaoping, okay, the leader of the open up and reform policy.
佢做錯嘢啊，點樣你有個出邊行啊？
一直知道。
Without Mr. Li Yuyin, without his tofu factory, Mr. Deng Xiaoping will have to stay in his home province. He might do not have opportunity to see outside world, and we in China we do not have opportunity to reform to open door. Okay, so TOEFL is so important for China revolution in China, for the reform in China, for everyone. In 1911, the Japanese scientists began to do hybridizations, and two years later, their soybean breeding program was established in Guangdong, Jining province in China. The program was also led by Japanese scientists. They was owned by their Manchuria Railways company. In 1923, Professor Wang Shou, okay, a professor in the University of Nanking, started his breeding program in Nanjing. Professor Wang was my professor's professor. He was a pioneer of modern soybean research in China. In 1935, the first 3 varieties from hybridization were released in China, in Northeast China. Okay, their varieties, Mancangjing, Mandijing, and Yuanbaojing, were probably used in the late 1940s and early 1950s in Northeast China. Another big event we have to remember that there, Mr. Sun Huan, the soybean researcher at the Gene Academy of Agricultural Sciences, successfully established his 3-line hybrid soybeans in 2004. soybean research in Asia was mainly run by the public institutions, including research institutes and universities. Of course, there are some companies which do some research work, but generally speaking, the companies are small because they do not have a big buyer, big market. In China, the Ministry of Agriculture organized their people from research institutes, universities, and companies to organize China Agriculture Research System Soybean. Okay, it's a very good practice. The people in different fields work together. For example, in China Agriculture Research System Soybean, we have 6 laboratories called Genetic Improvement Laboratory, Cultivation, Soil and Fertilizer Laboratory, Disease, Pest, Weed Control Laboratory, Mechanization Laboratory, Processing Laboratory, and Industry Economy Laboratory. We also have comprehensive experiment stations across the country, covering the major soybean produce area in Northeast Spring soybean region, Huanghai summer soybean region, Northwest China, and South China. It means that there are scientists and experiment stations can cover different steps of soybean industry at different regions of soybeans. The government provides continued support to their scientists and experiment stations. We do not spend a lot of money to apply grants. Okay, they can work in their own field continuously. That system is very good. Based on their CRS system, we also organize their people in basic research, applied basic research, and applied research to work together to build a national soybean breeding network. We share their facilities, we share their network for evaluation of lines, and we work together for seed propagation and extension. In Japan, their public institutions also play leading role, and they have some also have the universities and some private companies. The same things can be found in South Korea, India. Okay. Recently, their soybean research developed very fast. Apparently in the past 20 years. You see that the number of soybean publication from China grew very fast. In 2020, China published 560 papers, or 30% papers in their of the total global total in the international journals. Compared with their period from 1995 to 2015 and the period from 2016 to 2020, you see in the first stage, North America played leading role, but in the second stage, Asia countries surpassed North America, Europe, and South America. It means that the production of soybean was mainly conducted in the North America and South America, but their paper was produced mainly in Asia. I mentioned that the number of soybean-related papers in international journals in China was increased very fast. Last year, it means that the number or 50% more than that from United States. In the globe, United States Department of Agriculture, USDA, still the number one of the publication of soybeans. And second one is Chinese Academy of Sciences, and the third one is Chinese Academy of Agricultural Science. I worked. The fourth one is MPRAPA. The fifth one is Iowa State University of Japan. In India, the India Council of Agricultural Research was the leader of soybean research. And in Japan, the National Agriculture and Food Research Organizer, NARO, was the leader. And in Korea, the Seoul National University was the leader. Here I can share some basic information about the progress of soybean research in China. China is the owner of the biggest soybean collection. In their new national crop gene bank at Kansas, the building is very new. It's about 200 meters away from my office. Okay, in the new library, the new gene bank, there are more than 43,000 accessions of soybean collections, including about 10,000 accession white soybeans and 3,000 accession of introduction from other countries. To study their diversity, to study their the common identity of Chinese soybeans, Professor Li Juanqiu and her counterparts established a soybean co-collection. They select their representative varieties to a primary score corn, okay, a mini corn. We can use their mini corn to study their to find new genes, to know the phenotypes of different ecotypes. In the basic research, China made progress. It appeared in the genomics. For example, in genomics, Dr. Hong Lam, okay, published their first reference grid genome of white soybeans. And Dr. Zhi Tian at the Chinese Academy of Sciences constructed a high quality reference genome of Zhonghua 13, widely grown soybeans from Chinese Academy of Sciences. Dr. Chiu's group also established a pan-genome of annual white soybeans. And Dr. Tian Zhixi's group also established a grief pangenomics of white and cultivated soybeans. It's a very good basic data for soybean gene mining and basic biology. Using the whole genome sequences, Dr. Hong Lam's lab studied their biodiversity of white soybeans. And the information of genomic study was used to genomic selection and breeding use. Their gene mining is another progress of soybean research, basic research. Dr. Hong Lam's laboratory identified major genes which confer their salt tolerance for soybean. The gene was first found in white soybeans. And Dr. Nian Han at the South China Agricultural University work with my laboratory to clone the genes called J. J or germinality, related germinality is very important gene to soybean production. So you know that in Brazil, there was very little soybeans before 1970s. After that, Dr. Keo introduced late flowering soybean from Mississippi, United States. It's called long juvenile soybeans. And there they breed varieties with later flowering and taller plant height. Their non-juvenile soybeans produce much higher yield. Okay, that build a big industry for soybean in Brazil. But which gene control their traits? We found that their homologue of EFL3A in soybean, okay, control that trait. There are mutation of that gene, okay, destroy their function, okay. That makes soybean not insensitive to the short day and high temperatures. The soybean can grow taller and yield high in the tropical region. So, just I mentioned that Brazil produce over 130 million tons soybeans. Okay, are the biggest producer, very important in the soybean supply chain in the world. But their industry was meaning from the long juvenile traits. The long juvenile traits mainly from a mutation, from a deletion of one nucleotide. Sometimes we see that one gene built an industry, but here, one nucleotide, one base build an industry. So it's a mistake. Sometimes the mistake is correct, okay? The great industry of tropical soybean in Brazil and other countries result from a mistake of a gene duplication. That's very interesting. China also made progress in soybean improvement. From 1913 to 2020, China released over 3,100 improved varieties. I would mention that in China, a new variety have to get a approval from government before release. We developed soybean varieties for different regions. For example, in Northeast China, a single cropping and soybean was planted in May. In spring, late May or early spring, in the Yellow River, Huaihe River, and Haihe River Valley, soybean was planted after winter wheat. It's a double cropping system. In the South China, soybean can be grown in spring, summer, and even autumns in a multiple crop system. The intercropping was very popular there. We breed the different varieties to adapt the different region and different farming systems. So in China, the soybean mature groups are much more wider than that in the United States. We have the variety, the earliest variety belong to mature group 4 and the little one is about mature group 9, very late. Here I can show there are varieties to adapt to different regions. We have the super early soybean varieties for the high latitude cold area in Northeast China. Their major crop in the North Pole village of Heilongjiang province, which is located in the over 15.3 degree latitude. The soybean is a major crop. Okay, it's very early, belong to mature group 4 zeros to 3 zeros. The variety are very sensitive, very insensitive for the period. I invite you to go to my experiment station in that village. Okay, it's behind me. It's Russia. Okay, the mountain it belongs to Russia. We have many soybean varieties for northern spring planting, major plant area. in this region, we have a very big farm. We have some farm as big as that in Brazil, and the United States, and Argentina. The mature group of varieties there is MG0 to MG1. The varieties are a little bit sensitive for the period. But when they grow in the tropical region, it's become sensitive. It's flower very fast. Okay, remember that the varieties in Northeast China cannot be grown in the tropical region for production. And in the Jining and Liaoning province, we have mid and late maturing varieties for northern spring plant region. Okay, they are a little bit sensitive for the period. And in the Yellow River Valley I lived, we have varieties belong to mature group 3 to 5. They're quite sensitive for the period. In this region, the climate is our favorite for soybean production. Yes, the soybean grew well and yield high. In my experience station in Henan province, my variety called Zhonghuang 301 create some good yield record. Here you can find that in their continuous 5 years, their yield per hectare was over 4.5 tons per hectare. Remember that it's in their experiment stations. In South China, we have different eco type of soybeans. Some of them are very early that can be planted in spring. Okay, they have early mature groups, but they also have very late varieties for the intercropping system. Okay, when they are share the time with corn, it's very tolerant to shading. It's just keep their vegetative growth period because they are waiting for a short day. Okay, because that gives them a very high tolerance to the stress. After the corn was harvested, then become independent. They grew very well and give a high yield. The varieties in this region are very late, are very sensitive to the photo period. Please notice the first picture on the left side. This picture was taken in the greenhouse near the science building, the Chinese University of Hong Kong. Okay, when I worked as a visiting scholar 22 years ago. You see, for the first pot, we treat the soybean with 12-hour short day. It means that the soybean can sleep for 12 hours. For the right, the fourth one, the soybean was placed in the 16-hour long day. It means that they can just sleep for 8-hour day. When the first one matured, the last one even did not begin to the reproductive period. They are very sensitive to the fourth period. I just mentioned the long germinal soybeans. I planted the traditional varieties, Jake, okay, very famous variety from the United States. But the line with the long germinality in Highland Island, you can find that the long germinal soybeans grow very tall, yield very high, and mature very late. But the traditional one flower very early and mature very early, and the yield were very low. They are also they are tolerant to the short day and high temperature. The guy there on the left side is Professor Nian Hai at the South China Agricultural University. Why was he so happy? Because he found that his Huaxia 10, a typical variety with long germinality, grew very well in the tropical region. The lady was not so happy because here traditional varieties grow very short and the yield very low. For breeders, we would like to breed varieties with their wide adapted. Professor Wang Lingzhen was a very good example. His Zhonghuang 13 planted both in south part of Northeast China, Huanghai region, and South China. It's very widely adapted. To find the other wide plate varieties, we have a network to screen their widely adopted varieties. We have an idea that their widely adopted varieties, elite varieties have their good combination of traits and genotypes. Okay, we can find its short advantages and shortcomings to improve them with their modern technology. Just like we built a building on a high mountain. Okay, when I visited the Potala Palace, it's a big surprise to me. It's a very great building. I found that our strategy to breed new varieties based on the elite varieties, just like to build a polar building in the mountains. So we kept the strategy is polar model. The people were jointly published by my laboratory and Dr. Nam's laboratory. Chinese breeder also made progress in hybrid soybean breeding and genetically modified soybeans. If there are policies losing, we have the variety for the use by the farmers. We also have made progress in soybean cultivation and farming systems. Their wide range dense planting was used in Northeast China, and direct seeding system can be used in the Yellow River Valley. We use this technology to create some good yield record in this region. We also developed the mechanized belt intercropping system in South China. That's where that promotes the extension and utilization of the intercropping and the ready intercropping system in China. This year, the central government provides support to the extension of that multiple cropping system. In Northeast China, we integrate their drip irrigation and fertilization. Okay, they create a record yield of the nation. In 2020, the shareholder experiment station of a class CRS soybean created a record yield, 6.8 ton per hectare, okay, of soybean. That's a yield record of China. We also made progress in soybean plant protection. Dr. Yuan Chao Wang and his students, his co-workers published good papers in international journals. Okay, they also developed their monitor and control technology of soybean boll disease and the pests. Their scientists in processing also developed technologies to develop their soybean-based new plant meat and new soybean food made from the whole soybean seed, and there are deeply processed soybeans for functional use. They also use their byproduct, for example, to extract dietary fiber powder like that. In the future, the food need for China is increasing. In the past 40 years, food consumption and take of energy, protein, and oil in China was increased very fast. And the self-sufficiency rate was declining. is purely their self-sufficiency of soybean. From this table, you can find that China can self-supply their 96% of cereal, 102% of vegetable and fruit, but the soybean we can only provide about let's say 15%. From this picture table, you can find that their self-sufficiency for meat, egg, dairy, and aquatic products are not so lower. But remember that they were produced from soybean. If we do not have soybean imported from other countries, their animal husbandry will be bankrupt, go bankrupt. So it's very important to save their in their food chain of food supply chain. The soybean or protein is the most important. It's a bottleneck. Now we are dependent on their animal product, but you see that the efficiency of protein transformation in animals was very low. For meat production, for each kilo of meat production, we have to consume over 20 kilograms of feed. For egg, 10 kilograms. For dairy product, 8 kilograms for each dry matter in the milk. The aquatic agriculture is a high efficiency, okay, but generally speaking, their transformation efficiency is very low. In my opinion, the modern animal husbandry is a system of plant protein transformation to animal protein fueled by energy, mainly from coal. Okay, their efficiency is lower than 30%. It means that 70% of soybean protein was wasted. If we keep their living diet structure and living matter, just we have currently, China will consume more and more soybeans. It was estimated that in 2030, China will consume 163 million tons of soybeans. A huge amount of soybeans. Okay, where can we buy? Where can we plant soybeans? You see now the geopolitical situation is worsening. Okay, if we cannot buy soybean from outside the world, that will be very dangerous. Okay, another thing that to produce so much soybeans, the farmers in our South America have to destroy their jungle. From this picture, Oran, I called him Mr. Oran, fight with their machine to safeguard his home. He was very brave, but he was defeated by the human. On the right, Mrs. Cole was very sad. In a Chinese family, if a new baby, a new boy was born, all member of family will be very happy. But for the Cole mother, she was very sad because his son will be killed very soon. Okay, so I ask you to help Mrs. Cole to save her son. How to do that? We have to use soybean as a tool to secure the protein supply in China and Asia. First one, we have to adopt a new concept called great food, okay, to find more protein, more food. For soybean production, we can export soybean planting area by our traditional rotation system, a multi-crop system, and we have attention to increase soybean yield by variety and technical improvement. And most importantly, we can use soy food as their major protein source for human diet. Okay, soybean, now there are plant meat is a very popular concept. In fact, soybean is the best plant meat. Using modern technologies, we can improve the structure and flavor of soy product for human use. Soybean protein is very complete. It contains all essential amino acids. Soy food can be shared by the different ethnic groups, different religions, and different nations. Using soybean food as a major force as our food protein, we can save our land. We can save the baby of their Mrs. Corn. We can save the jungle and the life in the jungle. We can save the world. Let's work together to develop a soybean industry, to develop a new soybean product, to eat new soybean product, to save our world. So my conclusion is that soy food is a solution to the future world. The data of my presentation was provided by the CRA soybean members and the many other Chinese counterparts and my colleagues, and just like Mr. Sui, the economist at the China Agricultural University, and other professors provide pictures and data. And some foreigners like Ms. Vashani Bashar from India and Dr. Makita Hajika from Japan and Professor Suha Lee from Korea. Also, my colleagues helped me to prepare the slides. And we also get data from Ministry of Agriculture and Fair Affairs, USDA, and FL database. Last but not least, I have to thank Professor Ho-Min Lam, Ms. Katrina, and CUHK colleges and all participants. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tenfu. So before we entertain the Q&A, so could you just stop sharing the screen for the time being?
Good.
So that we can take the pictures together. So I invite everyone to turn on your videos so that we can have a picture together with Professor Han.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. So Tenfu, you mentioned that you was in the Chinese University of Hong Kong 22 years ago. Wow. So that
time goes very fast. Because
so
that's 22 years ago. 22 years ago.
Yeah, so we have been.
I was very young.
We have been friends.
You were still very young.
2 years ago. Wait, but when our hair is still very black. So, but anyway, so we have friends from different areas. So it's a good time for us to learn more about Chinese soybean, right? So now we open for questions and answers. So please feel free to ask Tenfu's question.
Good, welcome.
Yeah, if your microphone has any problem, you can type in the chat box. But if possible, you can just turn on your microphone and talk.
Maybe I have a question for Professor Han, if I may. I was wondering for a great talk, first of all. And I was wondering, what is the biggest challenge to increase yield per hectare in China, for example? Is that genetics? Is that environmental conditions, pathogens? Because that would clearly be of interest, of course, to meet the demand of the future.
Yes, just I mentioned that their yield of soybean is much lower than that in the United States, Brazil, Argentina. But in China, we have some high yielding examples. In the Northeast China, their big farm, in the big farm, the yield is much higher than their small farmers. From that comparison, I find the way to increase yield. First one, we have to improve their production manner. From the very small householder, very small farm to bigger farm. Now the farmer in Northeast China and in the Yellow River Valley, they collected. They have cooperatives. They buy big machines. When they have bigger farm, they can buy big machinery. They have their more interest to buy new varieties. Okay, they use fertilizers. They can manage well. This is their first one. The second one, their yield potential of the varieties in China league behind that in the United States. It's the varieties in the United States, Brazil, Argentina. They adapt to their fertile soil. But in China, soybean will grow in their cold area or after the winter wheat. So in a harsh environment, they are tolerant some stresses, but their yield potential is not so high. So in the future, to meet the demand of bigger farmers, we have to improve their yield potential. For breeder, we have to improve their plant type. The older one variety have more branches and easy to lodging. But for the dense planting, we have compact plant type, and to plant the soybean more densely. Also, we have to improve their resistance to pests and their diseases. In Yellow River Valley, there are new disease, the new symptom called stain green, very popular. It was caused by bean bug. Now we do not have any germplasm or varieties which are tolerant. We are resistant to that bean bug. Maybe in the future we have to use their genetically modified varieties to resolve their problem, just like the bean bug, and to increase their efficiency, for example, herbicide control like that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I hope we can meet to the next year to talk face to face in Vienna.
Yes, I hope so too.
Good.
So Tenf, I would like to follow up on this question, because Northeast China has been using big machines for quite some time, right? So, but for some reason, the per hectare yield in Northeast China on the black soil is not really reaching the maximum potential of that soil. So what will be the major reason? Is it whether it's too cold or what? Why they cannot surpass the soybean per hectare yield in another country?
There are I compare you see the soybean China is lower, about 1.5 ton per hectare. I compare with that in the United States, Brazil. About that, 50% come from their environment. You see, we plant soybeans in their unsuitable conditions, but farmers in American countries plant soybeans in their favorite environment. And another reason that because the size of farm, even in the Northeast China, the smaller farm do not have a fund to use their big machinery and big new technology. And because their income of soybean planting lower, their farmers, their forced labor emigrate to their country, to the cities for better job. Only the elder people, the women are still working in the field. That's another reason. Is that your question?
Okay. Any question from the audience? I can see the audience from South Africa, Pakistan, Vietnam.
Hi, Professor Han.
Okay, Professor.
Hello.
This is Joanna. I have a question.
Good.
You mentioned that every year many new varieties are developed.
Yes.
How many percentage of these new varieties are actually utilized and grow, become commercial soybeans? And if they are not used, do they just go into the library for future reference, or what do you do with them?
Good question. Each year, China release about over 100 new varieties for different regions. Before they're used by farmers, the local experimental stations and seed some management department will compare the variety in the field. Some big farms introduce their different varieties for comparison. They found the best one for use. You see that it's not easy to find a very good variety. Even we have many new varieties, but for farmers, they use quite old varieties. For example, in Northeast China, P23 was very popular. It was first released in 2004. In Yellow River Valley, their most popular variety is still the Zhonghua 13, which one was released in the 2000. Okay, I think that their new varieties maybe can be used in the future, but they cannot contribute a lot immediately to their current production. Now we organize their extension, their breeding network to work with their companies. We want to increase the efficiency of their extension of new varieties.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, questions? So then, since there are people from South Africa and also Pakistan and Vietnam here, so could you comment on the potential of growing soybean in these countries, because they are also potential consumer of soybean?
Good question. 25 years ago, the first year when I joined the Chinese Academy of Agricultural Sciences, I will invite you to the ambassador of Pakistan to China, to Beijing. Okay. The gentleman says that the Pakistan have a great need for soybeans. They want to cooperate with Chinese scientists to work there. Now in my group, we have some students from Pakistan. Okay. I think that in the future, China and Pakistan can work together to improve soybean varieties and to improve the soybean farming system. Professor Yang Wenyu, okay, at the Sichuan Agricultural University, said that his Pakistani students introduced his intercropping system to Pakistan, and their efficiency of production of both maize and corn are very high. Their premier, former premier, okay, with his experiment field and sees that the government will support him to extend that technology. You remember that in 2004, we all, both Professor Nam and I visited to South Africa, okay? South Africa have very good climate, have fertile soil, have very big land. I think there will be very great potential for South Africa to develop soybean industry. I suggest that they introduce soybean to the nutrition system with sugar cane, with maize like that. I think that South Africa can repeat the successful story of Brazil. Also, their size are much smaller than Brazil. We want to work together to breed new varieties for their Pakistan and for their South Africa and for some African countries. I visit Sudan, okay? Sudan have very big land. They have rich resources for water from Nile. If they have their irrigation system, they will have big industry of soybean. One researcher from the National Agriculture Organization with me as a visiting scholar, and I had their student. Okay, we want to introduce Chinese germplasm to Sudan and other African countries. Now you know that the long germinal soybeans are very productive in the tropical region. That provides the possibility for the high yielding of soybean in the future in the tropical Africa. Thank you.
Great news. So, okay, so last chance, right? So anyone want to get more information from Professor Han? Okay, maybe it's late for some people already. So thank you very much again, because this is a very informative talk that will help people all around the world to see the future of soybean production. So before we end, right? So we will have a Catherine, do we have an announcement for the next talk?
Yes.
So please do the announcement so that the audience will know. Please share the poster.
Hey, sir. Hey, can you guys see the poster?
No.
This one.
Yes. Okay. So why don't you introduce the speakers and the talk to the audience?
The next talk will be organized on the 17th of June, and it is on Friday. And our speaker will be Professor Nidiko Lutiti. and he'll introduce, the talk is about phenotyping as an indicator of genetic diversity in soybean. And you may register through the link below or scan the QR code on the right-hand corner.
Thank you, Catherine. So, Professor Dicko Ludidi would like to introduce soybean to Eastern Cape of South Africa. So, he's also one of our collaborators and good friends. So I hope that he will also, well, if you have any question about the potential of soybean in South Africa, I think next talk will answer your question. So just let you know, I also organized colleagues from Argentina to talk. So, and I think, I cannot remember whether it's in July or August or later, there will be a talk also on Argentina, so that we will know the situation of soybean in different country better. And then hopefully we all work together to improve the whole soybean industry in the world to benefit people and the environment. Okay, so if you're interested, please register for the next talk. It will come in 3 weeks. So yeah, with that, I thank everybody for attending this series, and hopefully we will see each other again soon. All right, okay, so bye-bye everybody.
Thank you very much.
So Temple, can I use some of your slides for my public talk?
Good.
Can I use some of your slides when I go to do some educational talk to the students?
I will send you a new version to you very soon. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Some data cannot be shared because there's some guys see that, but mostly 99% can be used. I will send you a new version very soon. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Great.
Okay,
thank you. Bye bye.
Good night. Good night.
Bye bye. Good night. Have a nice weekend.
You too.